say 2 words when pizza's right outside the door. I'm tempted to let you go eat, but if you'll give me 2 minutes. I was supposed to take 10, but I'll just take 2, okay? It's great to be here again, and give it up for Connor Caudell. He is a wonderful president. The leadership and the crowd that I see in this room tonight inspires me more than you know. It was worth the 2 hours or whatever it took to get down here. And you know, campaigns can be grueling and they're long and they're tiresome. But I want to tell you something, being around young people energizes me like nothing else. And seeing your excitement, hearing you say you want to get rid of Barack Obama in 2012, that fires me up. So yes, we will. I want to introduce Greg Fettig. He was with me last year. He's the Tea Party leader in the state of Indiana. Give it up for Greg. 3 things quickly. First of all, I'm sorry Amy and Trey Blake couldn't be with me tonight. We're big IU fans. It was a bad day a couple weeks ago at Lucas Oil. You know, Ball State's in my district. You know. So I have to be honest, after I challenged you to live your pride, I wore a neutral shirt. I was sitting up in a suite with some friends who were supporting our campaign, and I just knew we'd kill them, and it didn't turn out that way. But look, hope springs anew, and I think the Wilson era is going to be great for IU, and I'm really encouraged. We're going to turn it around, and I think basketball is going to be a lot better this year. I hope so. But anyway, I want to share a couple things because a lot is happening in America and in the state of Indiana, and I just want to share some of the feedback that I'm getting, and then I want to talk about my campaign for just a moment. I do have some opponents. One's a drug addict, the other's an alcoholic, the other one's a child molester, and we will talk about no, I'm kidding. But what I want to share with you are just two things that are happening in America. One, America's sick of big spenders, Republican or Democrat. You know, here's the bottom line. They gave Republicans a chance in 1994, and we were in office from 94 to 2006, and we spent money, like I like to say, like a bunch of drunken sailors, and America said enough. And unfortunately, Democrats didn't learn the lesson because y'all know that they've never seen a tax hike they didn't like. Washington takes too much, it spends too much, it never has enough. But Americans are frustrated with that. We're spending $120 billion more every month than we take in. Our deficit this year is $1.25 trillion. And Americans, and Hoosiers especially, are realizing you can't do business that way. We're passing on a debt to you that you don't deserve, that you didn't ask for. And I'm convinced that the American people are giving Republicans one more chance to get it right. Now here's my fear. If we don't get it right this time, I think a third party will emerge, and that will be the Tea Party. And I think that, I'm afraid that that happens, this nation will vote Democrat for the next 40 years. And ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to let that happen. And that's why myself as a financial advisor got out of my comfort zone and said it's time to get engaged and get involved. And I was very frustrated that we just did not have enough voices on Capitol Hill who could clearly articulate to the American people what true Reagan conservatism was all about. And it seems like when we're in the majority, we operate more as an apologetic party than we do when we're in the minority. We rattle the saber very well as the minority party, but not as a majority party. And I felt like it was time to get engaged and get involved. You know, when I ran for the U.S. Senate, I never would have dreamed in a million years that I would run again for public office. And after that race was over, my phone was just rung off the hook with people asking me to stay engaged. And so I'm a candidate for the United States Congress in the 6th District. And we'll talk about that in a second. But reality is this. We've got to get spending under control. Our fiscal house is a disaster. I was the only candidate in the Senate primary 2 years ago who was saying that our AAA credit rating was in jeopardy. And we issued a press release that the media ignored. And, you know, who did this guy from Richmond think he was, saying things like this? Well, now it's reality. We've lost one of our major assets, and we have to get it back. But in order to do that, we're going to have to make some tough decisions in Washington, and it's going to require men and women with courage who can face the American people and say, here's what we have to do, and sell it to the American people without allowing the media to destroy our message. And that's why I'm excited about going to Washington, because I believe I can help do that. Secondly, this experiment with socialism is about over. Obamacare is not going to work. Reality is this: we're starting to realize it's way too expensive. It forces you to do something because your federal government tells you to, and America is waking up to the fact that big government is not better. It's killing us, and so I'm very optimistic that come 2012, we're going to run everybody out of office who has aspired to be a socialist, and we're going to elect men and women who love free enterprise, who love America for who we are as the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the shining city on the hill, who allows the American people to drive this economic engine that helps makes us the great nation that we are. So that's about over, and I'm grateful that it is. Now I want to talk about my race. How many of you know Mike Pence? How many of you think he's a great congressman? One of the best we've had. In my opinion, he's been like a voice in the wilderness many times on Capitol Hill. He voted against No Child Left Behind. He voted against the Medicare prescription drug plan. He voted against TARP. He voted against all of the incredible spending that was taking place. Mike Pence was a lone voice again and again saying we cannot afford to keep doing this. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, we cannot afford to send someone to Washington to take Congressman Pence's place who will go along to get along. Let's be honest. We still don't have enough boots on the ground in Washington to enact real reform. We've learned that since this last election in 2010. We thought, wow, we took back the House in extraordinary numbers. This is going to be great. And now we've realized that without the Senate and without the White House, we really haven't accomplished anything yet. And what we're also realizing is that we need good, strong conservatives like Mike Pence to serve in the United States House of Representatives. And so we cannot afford to replace Mike Pence with an establishment Republican who will go along to get along. And that's why I'm running for his seat. I've lived and worked in the 6th District almost my entire life. I've been there. I know how they feel. I know what they think. I know how independent they are. And I want to do my best to walk in Mike's shoes and continue the tradition of speaking for true fiscal and social conservatism and making sure we don't elect someone who's just been trying to get elected to public office forever and a day. You know me. I'm not a career politician. I'm in fact a term limits guy. I'm going to be there 12 years at the most. My heart tells me only 10. And then I'm going to go back to life as a financial advisor. But I'm doing my best to let our message be heard that we must continue the legacy that Mike Pence has given us. We must continue his work, and we cannot afford to do that with someone who's just dying to have a job in Washington. And so I need your help. Now listen, your great Congressman Todd Young, Turp, don't you tell him that I'm doing this tonight, okay? Your great Congressman Todd Young does not have a primary opponent, and it looks like he's not going to. So that means you all need a job, and I want to give you a job. And so I have a sign-up sheet that Greg has, and if you would be willing to help us, you all worked so hard in the last general election for Senator Coates and for Todd Young and for others, and Justin Bush, who was down here working with you. He's my campaign manager, big IU fan. Justin's leading the charge for our efforts. We want to get you involved in phone banks when we have our kickoff rally a little later. And we're waiting until after the municipal elections because we don't want to take any more energy out of that than we absolutely have to. But we want to get you engaged in that race. If you feel like you need to adopt a congressman, guess what? You've got one to the east who needs your help, and I'm counting on you. So when we eat pizza, I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me to be here. God bless you. God bless IU.